Okay, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Healy, and I'm the president for the Chamber of Commerce here in Isle of Wight County. Broadcasting from my lovely home office today because we've got some renovations going on in the chamber, so I don't have a very pretty backdrop for you guys. I'm so sorry. But anyhow, I just want to welcome everyone and introduce our guest for today. First and foremost, let me mention that Kristen Marchant is on our call with us, and she is a new face to Macchiato Chat because she is the Chamber's new media and programs coordinator. So welcome, Kristen. And be just making sure we stay on track here. And let's introduce our guest speakers for today. We have our returning guest, Keith Compton. Welcome, Keith.
Thank you very much, Jessica, and welcome, Kristen.
All right, Keith is a financial advisor with Edward Jones with Smithfield and Carrollton. He's been our returning guest, and honestly, he was the creator of Macchiato Chat. So I always like to, do a little nod to you, Keith. Thank you for coming up with this fun topic and maintaining your presence here with us for each session. It's been wonderful. And with us also today, we have Joey Bikkers. He is a physical therapist and the clinic director at Phoenix Physical Therapy. Welcome, Joey.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So if you are new to Macchiato Chats, this is our fourth, we think this is our fourth one, right, Keith?
Yes, ma'am.
So our theme is very casual. You can see in our invite, we encourage you to pick up a cup of coffee or your favorite tea, from local coffee house. I love Cure, it's right next to the office. So it's very convenient, but it's very casual. We're just gonna have a conversation today. We've got some topics that have to do with the election and the stock market and how those two play together. And then Joey is gonna jump in and talk about your physical health. And, all of us have been Zooming a lot lately, sitting at home, working from home, and more sedentary than we've been, pre-COVID. So he's going to jump in and talk about that and how the two link together. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen here. Keith's got a couple of slides for us. All right, let's pull that up here. Okay, again, welcome everyone. I see we've got a couple folks signing on here. We're going to go ahead and get started. I hope everyone can see my screen. And Keith, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Jessica, and thank you to our Chamber of Commerce again. We live in a community where we are focused on taking care of each other. And thank you for your leadership in that, in allowing the opportunity to share with our people so that there are things that they can be better prepared with, better informed about. And so one of the topics that has been really interesting to me is we're coming up to an election year. And in the United States, the ability to actually cast a vote for your representative without fear of doing that is something that is still a novelty for a lot of the world. But that also induces things. You mentioned earlier, Jessica, that you're in your home because there's some change, there's some updates going on at the chamber. Well, that happens in the United States every 4 years. There's an opportunity for either change or to remain the same. And sometimes that comes with angst, and sometimes that comes with issues, and sometimes that comes with stuff. But here's the big deal. The market, stock market, really doesn't win or lose on election day. It doesn't. As you can see from this slide here, the markets have performed well under both parties. If you look at the US economy, you look at the total stock market return, red, Republican, blue, Democrats, you can see that the average annual return over the past 75 years, 11% through Democrats and Republicans. And I know some of our viewers are old enough to remember the Nixon presidency or the Ford presidency. I was just getting interested after my time in the military because Reaganomics, and he blew up the military, and it was like, all right, it's awesome. So all of that happening. And you can see that each one may have had different policies, and those may have rocked the boat, but none of them sunk the ship. since we have a large Navy contingent out here, not only did the market respond well, but the economy also expanded around 3% during that same time period. And so when the country was in a financial crisis, that's when you had negative returns. And so are we in a financial crisis? Well, you mentioned something, Zooming, COVID, change that has happened to our country. And that change has not only affected us financially, but sometimes emotionally and physically. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to bring in Joey so he can actually talk about some of those changes that happen to our bodies that we need to be aware of as we go forward, because we're going to save you from making bad financial decisions. Your Edward Jones office, either myself out in Carrollton or Phil and Jeffrey out on Church Street. We're here to make sure that you don't make those bad financial decisions, because we help people achieve their dreams. Joey's going to ensure that you can make those dreams happen well, physically well. What do you think about that, Joey?
Keith, thanks for the introduction on that topic. You know, this has been an interesting year for a lot of people. And I think we're coming up on the holidays, and this, I think from a professional perspective, I always tend to see people after the holidays like, oh, I started decorating and getting all the Christmas decorations out of the attic, and now my knee's acting up. What we tend to see is when people kind of go through these sudden and stark physical changes, that's when you kind of start hearing some noise. So, you know, all of a sudden, 6-7 months ago now, at the drop of a hat, and everyone's at home and just staying at home. So even if you may have worked, you know, primarily at a computer or doing more of a sedentary job, you still have that opportunity to go, you know, talk to your coworkers by the Keurig or hang out for a moment at lunch. And now we're seeing a lot more people that have been just generally stationary and spending a lot more time in the same positions. The body likes variability. So one of the hard things we have to find now is kind of how do we balance these work demands? Obviously, there's still the productivity expectation, regardless of what you do. But if you're spending a lot of time sitting at your desk and not getting up and getting around, that can lead to some things getting a little bit touchy. So that's where kind of some of this positional variability and just being able to, you know, implement some basic stretching, taking quick walks and doing some short little breaks like that can actually do a lot for you in the long run, just to kind of keep things quiet and keep the body happy. Along that same lines, you know, we're in a fortunate position where things seem comfortable enough for kids to be going back to school, at least partially soon in person. I know right now the VHSL is pretty much positioned that, you know, thankfully our student athletes get to return to participation, hopefully in December. But one of the hard things there, again, you know, a lot of kids have been out of organized athletics and organized physical activity. And now all of a sudden we're going to hit this transition of like, been hanging out, maybe doing a little bit here and there, and then all of a sudden we're in pretty intense full season mode. So I think, you know, from a societal perspective, we really need to, you know, for those out there that have kids that are, you know, in that cohort that play sports for an organized team, trying to talk with your kid and figure out ways you can get them involved with some organized and structured exercise programs now, so that when season comes, they're not going from the couch to the court and having to hit the ground full speed.
Absolutely. You know, that's very interesting that you mentioned that. And there's a couple of things you talked about just from a physical perspective that to me is also relevant to the market. You know, election volatility, variability. Some people are like, I don't want it, stay away. But in reality, some of that volatility is a good thing. Some of that variability is a good thing as well. And that's why it's important that you do have a diverse financial plan, a diverse portfolio. I have some stocks, I got some bonds, I got some Dominion, I got some, you know, some other company that helps me weather those variabilities and volatility. And during an election year, yes, volatility increase and the markets does not like uncertainty. You're going to see that. You're going to see market volatility up. But if you're not sure what that means to you, you really need to find a trusted person. Much like if you're not sure why that knee is creaking, you go to Joey. He'll tell you why, and he'll give you some help. As a matter of fact, let me tell you a story. My 13-year-old daughter, who feels she's the greatest of all time in whatever she's doing, decided to pop her ankle. I don't know. She thinks she was going for a rebound or something because she was going to be the next, you know, next thing. Well, if it wasn't for us to listen into her body and go in and see Joey, there's no way she could have turned around. And as Joey told her, Hannah, what's your goal? And that was the interesting thing. Joey asked, what's your goal? She said, well, I'd like to be able to run track this year. So he said, let's make that happen. And he did. And he made that happen. And Hannah was able to run this year at the Junior Olympics. And she played basically fourth in all of Virginia because she listened to that trusted expert on what her goal was. So even if we're going to have this market volatility, it's going to subside as long as you focus on your goal. And so that's really what's important, because the market doesn't have a political party. What the market cares about is fundamentals. And, you know, speaking of fundamentals, I'm sure Joey has some basic fundamentals that we all need to pay attention to as we go through this season.
Sure. So again, I guess we can kind of look at that from two fronts. So for those of us that are in the, you know, whether you're a weekend warrior or whether you're just getting through the week and living for the weekend, I think some of the important things to kind of bear in mind are, you know, the body's not meant to be in one position for a long time. You know, people can go on about, you know, good posture, bad posture in between, but what the best body of research we have kind of would suggest is that keep it moving. Even if you spend all day, you know, proper military garb kind of posture, your body's going to get tired and sore if you're sitting there all day. So continue to move there. And then again, with the kids, of course, just trying to keep them active, not only for the sake of participation, but their long-term health. And Keith, I'm glad you brought up goals, because I think we can have a good conversation too on the topic of the fact of the matter is we all age. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast, right? So whether you're young, old, or in between right now, you're going to be one day older tomorrow. And one thing to bear in mind with that is just physically, it's natural to see things like loss of strength or loss of mobility. However, we can combat that. That's not something that's inevitable and just gonna, you know, hit the floor one day. We can do certain things to kind of prevent some of those issues. And those things would include, you know, maintaining regular exercise or activity. So I already kind of dropped the line about the Christmas decorations, because A, I love Christmas, and B, it's coming. So when you're not used to something, if your body's not used to having to carry on some kind of physical load, and then all of a sudden you have that dramatic uptick in what you have to do, it can be a little bit challenging. But one thing I'll try to do, especially with some of our adults that are starting to approach Medicare age or even in that Medicare age, is don't necessarily think of exercise as trying to, you know, be on the cover of the magazine. One important role of exercise is not only to kind of reduce some of these comorbidities that we've been hearing a lot about during COVID, but also to keep yourself more physically able so that you're more easily able to do things like play with your kids and your grandkids down the road, to being able to decorate the house around Christmas, to being able to enjoy that, you know, however much you're able to save and put away for retirement. And I think we need to kind of take that perspective of looking at life from the long term and considering what those long-term goals are, so that we can ascertain that our, you know, physical, mental, and emotional health is there, and that we have the financial means to be able to continue living the way we want to.
Awesome, Joey. That is so right. And that's one of the things that we are doing with our folks, is just reminding them that this too will pass. And the markets have actually been very resilient after elections. Over the past 75 years, in the month leading up to elections, the market's been like this. What's going on? What's going on? However, from the election through the year end, the market has actually increased about 4%. And it was positive for the last 75 years in every year except for 3. It's also worth noting that the average post-election gains in the following years, 52, 60, 04, 80, 72, 60, 96, 76, 92, that have been above 4%, 5 Republican wins, 4 Democrat wins. The market takes direction from the fundamentals, like you said. The body takes, I can't just make that jump shot if I've never practiced it. I mean, gardening, if I've never gardened all summer and all of a sudden I jump right into it, grabbing the little hoe and putting my plants in, I'm going to hurt. I'm going to need an ice pack.
You're going to have a rough day the next day.
That's right. That's exactly right. So, I mean, the fundamentals for the market are what the Fed's doing, and then our companies making money, rising corporate profitability. That's going to happen. Other fundamentals that we need to know, Once a year, the market's going to go down 10%. What do you do with that? Either buy or just realize that that's 1 year. Every 5 to 7 years, the market drops 20% or more. We've had that. What do we do with the next 5 to 7 years? How do we take care of our family, like you said? I mean, have a picnic. Go pick some pumpkins. Hey, we have some beautiful apple orchids. Go grab some apples. Go make a apple cobbler. You know, cook some popcorn. You know, learn about things as a family so that you are taking care of each other. And so I think it's some good stuff that can come out if we remember our physical, emotional, and financial health during this time period.
Thanks.
And
I just wanted to jump in because we are recording this session, and I know you had a couple slides, and forgive me if I didn't pull them up when you were referencing them, but I did want to share the screen because it is recorded. That way folks can go back and look at it. Let's see here. And then,
yeah, and one of the things that folks can do, I mean, obviously go hit up Joey, ask him a question if you're seeing something that's your body speaking to you. If you're uncomfortable, maybe calling my office or Phil and Jeffrey's office out in Church Street, go to edwardjones.com. We have some great retirement calculators, saving calculators, questions about life insurance, because we sincerely focus on people achieving their dreams. So you had 2 slides that showed there. The last one that's up right now basically shows that for the stock market, it really doesn't care who you don't like as president. President's approval rating doesn't affect the stock market. I don't like Bush. I don't like Reagan. Okay, whatever. What matters is those fundamentals. And so the market has delivered a lot of good returns, even when periods when the country didn't approve of the job the current administration was doing. Fundamentals and company making profits. Thanks for showing those slides, but I think people probably want to hear a little bit more about Joey and how we can reach out to him.
Thanks, Keith. So one thing you already alluded to is if people have questions, that's one thing we really want to be able to do kind of in serving the Isle of Wight County and the surrounding areas. Obviously, we're here with the traditional model of people that need care. So whether you have shoulder pain, you wake up with a stiff neck, or you have a knee surgery, we're certainly here for that. But we're definitely able to field just the average question like, hey, you know, what do you think about this? Should I be doing X, Y, Z? And we're able to do that without any real concern from an insurance or financial perspective. We're able to kind of schedule some, in certain instances, just a little brief consult just to chat and address any questions. Because again, one of the reasons that we wanted to set up an office here is to be able to kind of contribute and really be a solid, reliable provider in the healthcare scheme for the Isle of Wight County, so we can continue to see a very healthy, active, and successful community moving forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Jessica, thank you for putting up our contact info on this slide show. So as she said, it's being recorded, but if you want to take a snapshot of that, again, whether you give me a call or you give Phil's office 357-3984 a call, we're here to help you because we love the opportunity to work with people who feel currently who's understanding or taking the time to understand what's important to me. We love that. We work with people that they're not sure if there's a standardized process for reviewing, understanding, and implementing their goals. And frankly, we love working with people that form partnerships and aren't afraid for us to get to know you. And so just like this election period, every 4 years, the United States has an election, a presidential election. They're always going to be contentious. But again, history has shown that the market's going to be volatile leading up to it, but afterwards, the market has direction, and it really doesn't matter who that president is. I mean, the takeaway really has been, market doesn't win or lose. Different policy is going to rock the boat, but it doesn't sink the ship. Market doesn't have a political party. And when it comes to your goal and your finances, it is the goals that matter. Just like if it matters on you staying physically fit, get with Joey, get with that expert, get with one of us.
Thanks so much, Keith. Again, I do want to thank both of you for coming on the chat today. Keith, and through this entire series, I just love how your presentation has always just been so factual. And for me, you know, it kind of like brings you out of like what the media is telling you and all the hype, and just focus on, here are the facts. This is what we want to do, or what you should be paying attention to. And I think that's just such a great thing to have. And Joey, I think I sat up a little straighter every time you started talking.
I did.
Let me get my posture right.
Just remember to move around some. That's the big thing.
Keep it moving. So, but again, you know, like you said, Keith, everything we want to do, all of our goals, is essentially driven by how mentally and physically healthy we are. So, you know, it all relates, it all comes full circle. So Joey, thank you so much for coming on the chat today and just sharing your knowledge with us and things that we can do at home to keep ourselves healthy and moving, and especially our children. You know, sometimes we forget about that because, like you said, they're on the couch or they're doing Zoom classes. They're not moving around like they would normally in school. And sports season is upon us. It's already started. And some just really great points, and just how we, you know, keep our physical health in the forefront of our lives so we can, like Keith said, reach our goals, right, financially. The Chamber is so proud to have both of you as members, and that's what I love so much about these chats, is just bringing our members on here. That we are all local, we all live, work, and play in the Isle of Wight County and local area. So I think that just speaks volumes to when we can have folks like you on this chat and sharing your knowledge, because we all relate to each other. We're all connected somehow. And like we were talking before we actually started the chat, I'm introducing you all to Kristen, and you're like, oh, we already know each other from this group or that group. I'm like, okay, you know. So we're all kind of running into each other. And that's what I love so much about the Chamber, especially in Isle of Wight County. It's just so closely knitted, and I appreciate that. You know, with our small town. So again, thank you guys so much for being on the chat. If you're new to these Macchiato chats, just watching, we wait for the recording to be available. We're going to post it on our Facebook. I will also send it to both of our speakers today, and they are free to share it on you know, whatever platforms they want to, and it'll be there for indefinitely, so you can go back and rewatch. And like we said before, this is our 4th one, so our others are available as well. We are getting a YouTube channel up so we can house all of that in one area, and you can go back and research. And we've had some wonderful topics. Keith's always been our mainstay with that stock market and how it's performing, and things that, you know, we can do to make sure we are financially healthy. And we've had other guest speakers on that talked about education, insurance. So a lot of really, really great topics from your local business folks here in the county. And so if you ever want to access those, you know, please feel free. But again, thank you all so much. Thank you, Kristen, for being on with us. And we're going to go ahead and end. And if you have any questions, or if you want to learn more about the Chamber, or if you need a referral to someone that you can, you know, trust, please reach out to the Chamber. Our email is chamber@theisle.org. That's THEISLE.org. Or you can give us a call, 757-357-3502. And we'll get you connected with one of our fabulous members for whatever you need. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of the day and a great weekend, and we will see you at our next Macchiato chat. Take care.
Thanks, Jessica, Joey, Kristen.